Since the hour appears to be 7 o'clock, I'd like to ask everyone to take their seats, please. My name is Sandra McGonigal. I am the town moderator, and it is my pleasure to call this meeting of the deliberative session of 2012 to order. And I would like to thank you for your attendance here this evening and ask you to stand as we salute the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin this evening, we would like to remind you of a couple of things with regard to the facility here at Guilford High School. We would like to remind you that food and drink, except for water, are not permitted in the auditorium. State law prohibits smoking anywhere on the school grounds. And for your safety, we would like to note the nearest exits. There are exits located at the rear, in the front, and both sides of the auditorium. And in case of an emergency evacuation, we are asking that you please meet in the bus loop in front of the middle school, which is next door. Controlling the mics tonight will be a young man from our high school, Chad Avery. Could we give him a round of applause, please? Thank you. He's a former student, so I know he'll do a good job. Let's begin with introductions. This evening we have sitting here at the head table our Board of Selectmen. On my right, John O'Brien is the chair. Sitting next to him is Kevin Hayes. And to my far right is Gus Benavides. Also joining us is our town council, Walter Mitchell. And Mr. Scott Dunn, our town administrator, is sitting beside Mr. Benavides. And let's introduce our Budget Committee Chair, Richard Hickok, who is here to help us this evening with explanations about the warrant articles, and Denise Gagne, who is our town clerk tax collector. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Budget Committee members who are here this evening, who have worked long and hard on this, on the proposals that you're going to see this evening. So joining Mr. Hickok here at the table is Skip Murphy, who is our vice chair, Kevin Roy, Phyllis Corrigan, Dale Dormady, Sue Green, Pat Labonte, way up back, Kevin Leandro, David Horvath. Gus Benavides is the Selectman's representative to the Budget Committee. Ray Mello Andrews is the school board representative. I saw Ray come in. And lastly, Fred Butler, who represents the Gunstock Village district. I'm going to invite Scott Dunn, our town administrator, to come forward and introduce department heads here in the town. Scott?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll start with, to my left, Denise Gagne, who's already been introduced as our town clerk tax collector. Over here on the right, we have our Director of Planning and Land Use, John Ayer. Behind him, we have our Police Chief, Kevin Keenan. Behind him, we have our Finance Director, Jeff Ruggles. And behind him, we have our Public Works Director, Sheldon Morgan. We have our Fire Chief, Stephen Carrier. Herb Green, are you here in the audience tonight? There is, our Parks and Recreation Director. Our librarian, Catherine Dormady, here somewhere. And I think I got everybody. A fine bunch of department managers, and it's my privilege to work with those people. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Just to clarify before we begin this evening, it has always been the practice here at our town meetings and deliberative sessions to allow social service agency representatives as well as our media join us here in the audience. And we would like to continue with that tradition this evening. We want you to feel welcome in the town of Guilford. We would ask at this time that you stand and just indicate that you are a non-voter and that you are representing either the media or a social service agency. Would you do that, please? Okay, thank you. And you are on the honor system, of course, and we appreciate your interest in our community and for being here this evening. As we begin this meeting, I would like to express to all of you that this is our opportunity to explain, discuss, and debate each of the warrant articles. And we are going to be making amendments to the articles this evening, and they will be voted on. At the conclusion of our deliberation on each article, we will vote to place the article on the ballot. And the article will be placed on the official ballot and voted at what is called the second session of the town meeting, which is on Tuesday, March 13th. If there is a request for a secret ballot this evening, it will be allowed, and it must be requested by 5 voters in writing prior to a hand vote. If you wish to request a secret ballot, please approach the microphone and make the request. And as you can see, voting areas have been set up in the back of the room if such a request is made. We request that you participate in courteous debate. All remarks must be confined to the merits of the pending question or to questions of order. And all remarks must be addressed to me, the moderator. I'll be using the rules in the moderator's handbook. We all know that debate can sometimes get heated, but no personal attacks on the motives of an opponent during debate will be permitted. We hope that it will not be necessary to request removal from this meeting of anyone, but we must adhere to the rules of the meeting. If there's something that you wish to accomplish here, but you are uncertain about how to proceed, please ask. If there is something that is not clear to you, please feel free to approach the microphone for an explanation. Each article will be moved and seconded, followed by an explanation. When you approach the microphone to speak, please state your name. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to express his or her views. You may speak as many times as you wish, but all voters who wish to speak will have a first turn before anyone has a second turn. And we will limit a second turn to 2 minutes. If anyone moves the question, that will terminate discussion, and we will proceed immediately to a vote and move to the next article. If you wish to make an amendment, we ask that you put it in writing and state it in the positive. The way that it is written will determine the language that will be used on the ballot for voting on March 13th. Any ruling that I make here this evening is subject to appeal by any registered voter. I ask that you make the appeal immediately following the ruling. The appeal must be seconded, and then we will explain the ruling and the appeal to the meeting. And then you will have an opportunity to sustain or reverse the ruling. Are we ready to move to the warrant? The first article on the warrant is to choose the necessary town officers for the following year. And those are as follows. 1 selectman for a 3-year term, John T. O'Brien, Joseph F. Hoffman. 1 moderator for a 2-year term, Sandra T. McGonigal, Joseph F. Hoffman. There are no candidates for supervisor of the checklist for a 2-year term. 1 supervisor of the checklist for a 6-year term, Mary E. Valloon. 1 trustee of trust funds for a 3-year term, Thomas E. Space, Joseph F. Hoffman. 2 library trustees for 3-year terms: Darrell Thompson, Leon R. Albushis, Joseph F. Hoffman, John Jack P. Lacombe. 3 Budget Committee members for a 3-year term: Richard A. Grenier, Joseph Joe Hoffman, David Skip Murphy, Stuart Savage, Joe Ellen Space, Alan Voivod, Barbara Eichinger, Phyllis Corrigan, J. Scott Davis. 1 fire engineer for a 3-year term, William R. Akerley, and 1 cemetery trustee for a 3-year term, Susan S. Leach. Is there a motion to move Article 1 for placement on the official ballot as presented?
Madam Moderator, I'd like to move the article number 1 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's a vote, and I so declare it. Our first order of business is to discuss the proposed zoning amendments. To these amendments, you may ask questions and obtain information, but no amendments may be made to the zoning amendments during this meeting. Article 2. Are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number 1 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford zoning ordinance as follows? Delete the rumors land use from the zoning ordinance, including references to it in section 4.6.7 in table 1, the chart of uses. Section 4.7.6 parentheses H, rumors use description, and section 7.5 .6.7, excuse me, parking requirements for the rumors land use. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed at on the website. Is there a motion to move Article 2 for placement on the official ballot as presented?
I move, Polly Sanderson, I move Article 2 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Thank you, Polly.
Second.
Thank you. Would you like to explain this
Yes.
amendment?
Thank you. This proposal to remove the rumors land use from our zoning ordinance stemmed from an application that I made to the Board of Adjustment, and it was a recommendation actually by the Board of Adjustment to the Planning Board, because we discovered in the process of reviewing that application that there is really not a very good definition for the term in our land use ordinance, and there are other similar uses that really better cover the subject. The idea of rumors as a use has been that a property owner could rent a room or two to unrelated people, and we actually have a definition of family that would allow a few non-related individuals to stay at the home anyhow, and whether they rent there or not, that would be allowed. A boarding house is also another option for property owners. It was clear to the planning board that zoning board of adjustment was correct, and there was some confusion over it. It was also something recommended by our town code enforcement officer. He thought that this would also be a good solution to the confusion that came from having that land use in our ordinance.
Thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions or comment? Are you ready for the vote to put this article on the ballot? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is a vote. Article 3. Are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number 2 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford zoning ordinance as follows? Create a new section 5.1.1 parentheses D to clarify how to define and measure buildable area, to regulate how much and under what conditions land may be excavated or filled to create buildable area, and to provide standards to control runoff, mitigate erosion, and prevent damage to adjacent properties when excavating or filling to create buildable area. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed at the website.
We're waiting for a motion. Polly Sanderson, I move Article 3 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
And would you explain this article for us, John?
Yes, I will. Currently, our zoning ordinance requires that each lot have at least 1 acre buildable land area, and there are little to no regulations regarding limiting excavation to create buildable area. A few years ago, there's a subdivision that illustrated why this can be a problem. The applicant had incentive to level as much land as he could to create more lots. And by doing so, it seemed to create a lot of runoff problems. There was siltation, and it scarred the land a fair amount. So the planning board, in an effort to put some controls on that, has proposed this amendment to be able to limit those kinds of impacts on the town.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Are you ready for the vote? All those in favor of moving Article 3 for placement on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is a vote, and I so declare it. Article 4. Are you in favor of the adoption of Amendment Number 3 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford Zoning Ordinance as follows? Create new regulations for the parking of large commercial vehicles by creating a new definition for large commercial vehicle. 3. Create a new land use, section 4.6.18, large vehicle parking in table 1, the chart of uses. Create a new use description, section 4.7.6, parentheses Q, large vehicle parking, delete regulations related to vehicles from section 4.7.6, parentheses E, home occupation, and section 4.7.6, parentheses N, home office. And create a new section 11.4.8, large commercial vehicle parking, to establish special exception requirements for such use. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed at the website. Are you prepared to move the Article 4 for placement on the official ballot?
I move Article 4 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Thank you, Polly.
Second.
Would you provide an explanation for us?
I will. Thank you. This was another issue that the Board of Adjustment proposed be addressed by the Planning Board. Currently, our zoning regulations for home-based businesses control vehicle size. And it was suggested that we separate the land use, or separate out large vehicles being parked in residential areas as a separate use and have applicants obtain special exceptions for that, rather than have it intermingled with the home-based business. The idea being that if you didn't have a home business, there would be no regulation, technically. So it was proposed, and the planning board has moved forward with this. The effect would be that any vehicle could be used in relation to a home-based business, but keeping of larger vehicles, whether a vehicle, keeping of a larger vehicle, larger vehicles being a little less desirable in residential areas, would be subject to special review by the Board of Adjustment in a public hearing setting.
Does anyone have any discussion or questions about this article? All those in favor of moving Article 4 for placement on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The vote, and I so declare it. Article 5. Are you in favor of the adoption of Amendment Number 4 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford Zoning Ordinance as follows? Amend Section 2.2.4, Island and Waterfront District, by changing the district title to Island and Shore Frontage District. and by amending the wording in this section regarding the purpose and intent of the district, and amend section 5.2.1, which regulates land within 100 feet of Lake Winnipesaukee, Salt Marsh Pond, Lily Pond, Poor Farm Brook, Meadowbrook, Jewett Brook, Gunstock River, and any other year-round brook, by deleting section parentheses B in its entirety and replacing it with a new section B to clarify under what conditions uses may be conducted on lands regulated by this section, and by amending paragraph 1 of section parentheses C to require that natural vegetation that is removed from land regulated by this section be replaced with other vegetation or structures that will be equally effective in preventing sedimentation and contamination of surface waters and making other related changes. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed on the website. Are you prepared to move Article 5 for placement on the official ballot?
Yes, we are. Polly Sanderson, I move Article 5 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Thank you, John. Will you provide an explanation for Article 5?
This section, you may recognize, it was amended in 2011, this past year, because it was discovered that a literal application of the ordinance would prohibit most uses on any part of any lot that was within 100 feet of a surface water. The 2011 amendment was not perfect, and the planning board anticipated a further amendment this year. That last year was a bit hasty, but it seemed to fill the gap for the time. But this amendment would create the appropriate regulations that would help to properly regulate uses that are on property within 100 feet of the surface waters.
Does anyone have any questions or discussion? All those in favor of moving Article 5 for placement on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It is a vote, and I so declare it. Article 6. Are you in favor of the adoption of Amendment Number 5 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford zoning ordinance as follows? Amend Section 4.6.5, Home Occupation, by making the use a permitted use in the single-family residential zone, whereas it is currently permitted only as a special exception in the single-family residential zone. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed on the website. Paul?
I move Article 6 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Please explain Article 6.
Yes, currently the home occupation is a permitted use in the natural resource residential zone and the limited residential zone, but it's a special exception in the single-family residential zone. We're proposing to make them all the same so that it be permitted in each zone.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor of moving Article 6 for placement on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote. Article 7. Are you in favor of the adoption of Amendment Number 6 as proposed by the Guilford Planning Board for the Guilford zoning ordinance as follows? Amend Section 4.7.6, parentheses, L. So applicants are no longer required to obtain yard sale permits 3 days prior to the yard sale, but may obtain said permits at any time prior to the yard sale. An official copy of the entire proposal is on file at the town clerk's office and on display at the meeting place on the date of the town meetings and may be viewed on the website. Polly?
I move Article 7 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Please explain Article 7.
This one's pretty straightforward. There was not any apparent benefit to having a 3-day lead time on an application for a yard sale. We're just happy when people come in to get yard sale permits at all. So the police chief proposed that we eliminate that requirement, and the planning board agreed with that proposal. So that's what this will do. You can get a yard sale permit on the same day as your yard sale.
Mr. Murphy?
Skip Murphy, 9 Guilford Glen Road. My question is if you are hopeful or very thankful that people are showing up to even get the permits, why bother having them at all?
Yeah, generally, the main reasons for having a yard sale permit is to apprise the police department of yard sales that are going on. In case there is some issue with traffic, they are aware, made aware ahead of time that there are issues with that. The other reason would be to discourage perennial or continuous yard sales. There are some professional yard salers at times in communities, and this would prohibit that because we do limit the number of yard sales you may have. So requiring somebody to get the permit, the police department would be able to keep tabs on that.
May I ask how many permits is one allowed in a certain time period?
I think it's 4 per year.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? All those in favor of moving Article 7 for placement on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It's a vote and I so declare it.
Croc TV.